Canva just made Affinity completely free, and the design community is absolutely exploding right now. Adobe is dead, cancel your Creative Cloud, everyone should switch immediately. But here's what I'm noticing as someone who has been designing professionally for 16 years. Most people are treating this like a technical decision. Which software has better features? Which one is faster? Which interface do I prefer? But this isn't a technical decision. This is a career decision. And nobody seems to be talking about that. So let me show you what I mean. Because depending on where you are in your career, this free software might cost you more than you think. Or it might be exactly what you need. Let's break this down. First, let's get clear on what actually happened. On October 30th, the day right after Adobe Max, Adobe's biggest event of the year, Canva dropped a bomb. They announced Affinity version 3. Now, Affinity used to be 3 separate apps: Photo, Designer, and Publisher. Version 3 combines all of them into one unified application. You can switch between pixel, vector, and layout modes instantly, all using a single file format called .af, which, is pretty clear shot to Adobe's AI and .pst formats. But here's the big thing. They made it completely free. Not a trial, not a freemium model. Canva said free forever, at least a dozen times in their announcements. Now, the AI features, things like generative fill, text to image, those require a Canva premium subscription at $50 a month or $120 a year. But all the professional tools, the stuff that actually makes Affinity competitive with Adobe, those are completely free. And here's where it gets interesting. Cameron Adams, co-founder of Canva, put out a video explaining why they are doing this. And he was surprisingly transparent about the business model. Here's what he said, and I'm quoting it directly. When more pros use Affinity, more teams end up using Canva. Pro designers lead the visual workflow. If they build in Affinity, they're more likely to scale in Canva. And when they do, marketing, sales, and the rest of the business will follow. So this isn't charity. This is a loss leader strategy. Canva wants professional designers to use Affinity for free to create templates, brand assets, and design systems. Then, the non-designers, the marketing teams, the sales teams, the rest of the company, they need Canva Pro to actually use those assets at scale. That's where Canva makes their money. You're not the customer here, you're the gateway to enterprise subscriptions. Now, I'm not saying that's evil, it's actually a pretty brilliant business move. But it's important to understand that this is what's happening, because it changes how you should think about this decision. I've been watching the design community react to this all week, and I'm seeing 3 main groups. Some people are celebrating, like finally we're free from Adobe. Some people are skeptical. If it's free, it's because you are the product. And some people, especially those who paid for Affinity version 2, are generally angry. But across all 3 groups, I'm seeing the same mistakes. So let me address the 3 biggest things people are getting wrong. The first wrong take, it's completely free, no catch at all. Look, I appreciate Canva's transparency, but let's be real about what free actually means here. Yes, the core professional tools are free, but the AI features everyone is excited about, $120 a year. You need a Canva account to activate Affinity, which means agreeing to their privacy policy and terms of service. Now, Canva affirms that your work won't be used to train AI models by default. You must actively opt in. However, the offline functionality has a critical limitation. The app requires internet verification within 12 months of the last connection, or it will stop working. But compare that to Affinity version 2, which worked completely fine, forever, no account required. That independence, now it's gone. And here's what a lot of people aren't calculating. If you create workflows around free Affinity now and Canva changes the model in 3 years, what's your exit strategy? You're building dependencies on a platform that's using you to capture enterprise customers. And again, it's not necessarily bad, but it's not no catch. The second wrong take I see here is Adobe is finished, everyone is switching. I get it, I really do. Adobe's subscription model is frustrating. The constant prices increases, the difficulty to cancel, the controversy around AI training, all valid complaints. But let's look at the reality. Adobe Creative Cloud has over 30 million subscribers. It's the industry standard for collaboration. Every major agency, studio, and enterprise is built on Adobe infrastructure. Affinity becoming free doesn't change that overnight. And honestly, Adobe Max this year had some generally impressive announcements. AI features that are integrated across the entire Creative Cloud ecosystem. You can watch them on my previous video appearing here, but you also have the link in the description. Generative AI in Photoshop, Illustrator, video tools, all talking to each other perfectly. So, competition from Affinity is healthy. It will probably force Adobe to reconsider pricing. But Adobe isn't going anywhere, and that matters for your career, which we'll get to in a minute. The third wrong take I see is everyone should switch immediately. This is the one that bothers me most, because I'm seeing people give blanket advice. Ditch Adobe, use Affinity, save money. But they are not asking the most important question. What stage of your career are you in? Because the right answer for a design student is completely different from the right answer for a senior designer at an agency. And that's what nobody seems to be talking about. So let's fix that. Here's how I think about this. Your career stage determines your tool strategy. Let me break this into 3 categories: early career, mid-career, and senior level. If you're early in your career, let's say 0 to 2 years of experience, maybe still a student, Affinity makes total sense for you. Why? Because first, money. If you are a student or just starting out, every dollar counts. Adobe Creative Cloud is $60 a month, which means $720 a year. That's real money when you are building a portfolio and trying to get your first job. Second, fundamentals. At this stage, you are learning design principles, not software workflows. Color theory, typography, composition, these translate across any tool. Third, the barrier to entry. Affinity removes the cost barrier to start creating professionally. But, and this is critical, you need a plan for Adobe. Because when you enter the workforce, especially at agency or larger companies, they're running Adobe. You'll need to learn Creative Cloud before you start job hunting. So my advice for earlier career, start with Affinity, learn fundamentals, build portfolio, but add Adobe skills before you start applying to jobs where it matters. If you're mid-career, let's say 3 to 7 years of experience, this is where it gets complex. Because you are at a decision point. You're either moving into senior roles at agencies or companies where the Adobe suite is standard, but you can also be building a freelance practice, you have more flexibility, or transitioning industries, like you have different tool expectations. So the answer isn't simple. You need to ask yourself strategic questions, like, what industry am I in? Am I in an agency or corporate, where Adobe is still standard? Am I a freelance or a small studio, which you will have more flexibility, or a startup, often more tool agnostic? And related to clients, what do my clients expect? Do they send me AI or PST files? Do I need to collaborate with teams on Adobe? Am I delivering files they need to edit? And regarding your career, where is my career going? Aiming for senior roles in established companies where Adobe fluency matters? Building independent practice? Tool flexibility is an asset, or pivoting to product design. Figma is more important than either. So for mid-career, there's no universal answer, it's strategic. You have to map your tool choice to your career trajectory. Now, if you're senior level, let's say 8+ years of experience, honestly, you should probably know both. At this stage, being tool agnostic is a career asset. Why? Well, first, you're often leading teams. You need to understand what tools your team is using, even if you're not hands-on every day. Second, you are working with multiple clients or stakeholders who have different preferences. Third, the cost of Adobe is less relevant because you are earning more. $60 a month isn't breaking your budget. But learning Affinity gives you flexibility. Maybe you use it for personal projects. Maybe you use it for clients where you control the deliverables. Maybe you are just staying current on competitive tools. For senior designers, Master what the market demands, usually Adobe, but learn alternatives for flexibility and career insurance. The point is this: tool choice isn't about which software is better. It's about what serves your career goals at your current stage. And that's a strategic question, not a technical one. Okay, so let's make this practical. If you are trying to decide, should I switch to Affinity? Should I learn both? Should I stick with Adobe? Here are 5 questions to ask yourself. What does your current target employer use? If you are employed or looking for employment, this is the easiest question. Go look at job postings in your field. What do they list under required skills? 9 times out of 10, it's Adobe Creative Suite or Adobe Creative Cloud. If your goal is to work at agencies, design studios, or corporate in-house teams, Adobe proficiency is expected. Switching to Affinity might save you money personally, but it could cost you opportunities professionally. Next, what do your clients expect? If you are freelance or running a studio, think about your client workflows. Do clients send you files in Adobe formats that you need to edit? Do you send deliverables that clients need to open and edit on their end? Are you collaborating with other designers or agencies who use Adobe? If yes to any of those, switching to Affinity creates friction. File compatibility has improved, but it's not perfect. And the argument, I use a different tool, isn't an excuse clients want to hear. Next, what's the true cost analysis? Everyone focuses on the subscription cost, $60 a month for Adobe. But let's be honest about all the costs. So Adobe costs $60 a month, $720 a year. But it's the industry standard, perfect for collaboration, full ecosystem integration. The Affinity costs $0 a year for core tools, $120 a year if you want AI features, Canva Premium. But the learning curve time, so time equals money, potential client friction, friction equals lost opportunities, and career opportunity cost if it limits job options. So what looks like $720 in savings might actually cost you more if it slows your career growth or creates client problems. Run the numbers honestly. Next, how complex is your collaboration workflow? Are you a solo practitioner who controls the entire workflow, or are you working in teams? Solo designers have more flexibility. Team environments need consistency. And you should also consider, do you use After Effects or Premiere? Affinity doesn't replace those. Do you rely on plugins or extensions? Affinity ecosystem is smaller. Do you work across Adobe apps in one project? Affinity is more siloed. The more complex your workflow, the harder it is to switch cleanly. Next, what are you optimizing for? This is the most important question. If you are optimizing for cost savings, Affinity makes sense, especially if you are solo or early career. If you are optimizing for career advancement, Adobe Fluency is still valuable. It's what the market expects. If you are optimizing for flexibility and career insurance, learn both. Be tool agnostic. Adapt to whatever the client or employer needs. There's no wrong answer here, but you have to be honest about what you are actually optimizing for. And that's your decision framework. 5 questions, strategic thinking, not emotional reactions. So, what am I doing? Let me be transparent about my personal decision. I'm staying on Adobe Creative Cloud, and here's why. First, my client work. Most of my clients are agencies or brands that work with multiple designers. They send me files in Adobe formats. They expect deliverables they can hand off to their teams. Switching to Affinity will create friction that isn't worth it right now. Second, my workflow. I don't just use Photoshop and Illustrator. I use the full ecosystem. After Effects, Premiere Pro, Adobe Firefly, the integrations between apps, it's incredible. Affinity doesn't replace that ecosystem. And third, honestly, muscle memory. After 16 years on Adobe, switching will slow me down, and time is money. But, and this is important, I've downloaded Affinity. I'm testing it because I want to understand what the competition is doing. I want to see where it's strong and where it's weak. And I want to be informed when I talk about this with other designers. I'm planning to test Affinity for 30 days on personal projects. Do some illustrations, simple client work where I control the deliverables. Because here's the thing, this isn't about me picking a side. This isn't Team Adobe versus Team Affinity, like you are seeing in a lot of other videos. It's about figuring out what serves your specific career situation best. This is the main question that will make the real difference on your career. And that answer is going to be different from a design student than it is for a senior designer at an agency, than it is for a freelance illustrator. One size does not fit all. And anyone giving you blanket advice, everyone should switch or Adobe is the only option, they're not thinking strategically about your career. So that's what I'm doing. Staying on Adobe for client work, testing Affinity for flexibility, documenting the process for peer learning. Not hype, not fear, just honest strategic analysis. Alright, now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, what's your experience level? What's your current situation? Are you a student, employed at an agency, freelance, in-house? And what are you deciding? Staying with Adobe, switching to Affinity, or learning both? Let's figure out this together, because this is a career decision, and career decisions deserve strategic thinking, not emotional reactions. If you want more content like this, strategic career analysis, not just tool tutorials, subscribe. And if this framework was helpful, drop a comment. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day.